For this adventure, we are targeting bream. This video is aimed at the novice fishermen and new Australians, but I'm sure seasoned veterans can learn something new too. If you do learn something new, please like and subscribe because it really helps out my very small channel. When I'm fishing for bream, I like to use a size 10 long shank hook, or even smaller if I'm using bread as a bait. I use this in conjunction with a size 2 sinker. I don't generally use leader or anything like that, I just use normal fishing line. On one rod I have 8-pound line and on the other I have 30-pound line. I find the 30-pound line doesn't bother the fish and it allows me to catch even bigger fish if something else takes my line. Also I can drag things up on the bank with ease. There are over 125 species of bream worldwide, but Australia only has 6. They live in the ocean, estuaries, but can also survive in brackish water. This fish is known for its fantastic flavour and its ability to put up a fight. Bream will take a variety of baits. These include worms, prawns, fish baits, freshwater shrimps, yabbies, insects, maggots, and my personal favourite, white bread, pushed around a hook. When doing this, try and get the bread as close to the hook as possible, so it looks like a little ball that's about 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre and looks like this. Often this species is found in schools that are unfortunately far away, so sometimes it is necessary to lure them closer to where you are fishing. To do this, use burley. There are many types of burley, but the one I like to use is bread. The key is to use very small pieces, just enough to get them to go into a feeding frenzy, but not enough to get them full. The way I do this is I rub the bread together, which creates smaller pieces and larger pieces, which generally float and stay closer to the surface. Also, when on a high tide, I generally roll them up into balls. This causes them to sink and appeal to fish on the bottom. Used in conjunction with the floating bait, this will even your odds of catching a fairly decent sized fish. Because as the tide moves, it will move your burley to appeal to more and more fish. Something of note, I only ever use bread as burley when I'm using bread as bait.
Something's big.
Here we have burley in action.
Yeah.
Watch.
It's up. Yep.
Another thing of note is often when fishing near waterways, there will be sandflies and mosquitoes. So when using bug repellent, remember that it also repels fish. Bream particularly hate it. If you touch your bait, know that you will never catch anything. You'll stand there and be very bored and you won't catch anything. So either use clothing that repels insects, you can buy them from most camping shops, or spray everywhere else except for the palms of your hands. Something to be mindful of. When it's really windy, it'll be almost impossible to know what's on your line. You might be getting a bite, but you won't know it. Anyway, so either find cover, like a ridge or something, or go fishing when it's not windy. When I fish for bream, I usually leave 30 to 50 centimetres between the hook and the sinker. This distance seems to work well and allows me to cast more accurately. I find the best time to catch bream is right on high tide or just after, or when low tide is ending, particularly on dawn or dusk. The best way to know this is to simply Google it. I find this site particularly helpful and very accurate. Here are the tide times for the next few days. Like many Australian fish, bream like to congregate near places with structure, such as drop-offs like this one under the mangroves, or along the side of this rock wall here, or next to bridge pylons or rocks or stumps or trees or logs or jetties and stuff like that. The reason for this is these places provide shelter from larger fish, and this is also where their prey lives, so that's why you'll find them there. This dark tunnel over here would be an excellent place to catch a bream. You see there? If you flicked your line over that way, you'd probably catch a humongous bream. Once you've caught your legal sized bream, you want to scale it. When wanting to know what's legal and what isn't, you want to go to your government sites for your state. This will give you the most accurate information available. When scaling this fish, either use a scaler or a knife and work against the grain of the scales. After this, check that you haven't missed any scales, and if you have, just scrape them off. To check for missing scales, just run your fingers all over the fish, and this will show you what you've missed and what you haven't. Because this fish lives in so many countries, multiple different cultures enjoy eating this fish worldwide, so there are heaps of different recipes to cook it with. It can be filleted, cooked whole, baked, fried, boiled, stewed, cooked on the hot coals with the gut still in it. Really, the sky's the limit, so find a recipe and enjoy it. Cheers.